Hey everyone, Richard Taylor here. We are going to be talking about all kinds of things related to Final Cut Pro today on Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live. And we have, look who we have here, Mr. Patrick Southern from Frame.io and Isaac Terranez, who's going to talk about how Google shut down Hollywood this week.
Yes, you had it right the first time, Richard. You're the man. But Isaac's good. Terranez.
Terranez. Okay, Terranez. There you go. I thought I'd get it right, but there you go.
I know.
Terranez.
Nope. It's everyone. It's all good.
Okay. So how's everybody doing?
Good. Busy week.
It's Friday, man.
Oh, that's right. It is Friday. I forget sometimes it's Friday because I'm at home working out of my home studio, so I think, oh yeah, Friday. That's right. It is Friday. I got to keep track of these days.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also working from home right now, and it's still easy for me to remember the weekend because those are the days that I don't have as much work to do, which is nice.
As much or?
Well, I don't think I have any work to do on the weekend yet.
Okay. Well, that's good. So I work all weekend.
It's still early, Patrick.
I work on the weekends, but it's because I do things that I want to do. I mean, for the most part, sometimes I have actual work, paid work that I have to do. Somebody wants something edited and I have to get it done because I promised that I would. But normally weekends are not a problem. Usually they are. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you and I spend our weekends very differently. You know, you work on projects you love, and my wife and I are going to Universal Studios tomorrow and then Disneyland on Sunday.
Oh, you are?
Awesome.
Because we're adults, you know.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So there's a couple of things that happened this week, it looks like.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Google taking down Hollywood. We're going to talk about the iPhone Pro, right? For video, how it's working for video. We're going to talk about Mac Pros being built in Austin, Texas at the Apple plant, or assembled. Yeah, assembled. We're going to talk about the FCPX Creative Summit. We're going to talk about the Super Meet coming back, which was a real surprise to me yesterday. Somebody tweeted me a link, and I said, well, what is this? And I first clicked on it, and it was just the Boston, some kind of a Boston Super Meet, but they said, and breaking news, we're going to be back on Tuesday in Las Vegas during NAB.
Nice.
So we'll talk about that, and we're going to talk about Frame.io, because I got some questions about Frame.io, which Patrick knows about. He knows something about it.
Yeah, still got a lot to learn. But
yeah. Well, let's start with that, Patrick. So how's it been?
It's been great. I've very quickly learned that there are some differences between shared storage, and software as a service for review and approval and other cloud-based things. So there's a learning curve in terms of how the development cycle works for that. And, the structure at Frame.io is very different in very good ways.
How big a company are they?
We just celebrated over 100 employees a few weeks ago, but I think I was like employee 106 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And we're still growing. So Frame.io is growing very rapidly. I think it's the same age as LumaForge.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Wow. Huh.
So did you use Frame.io when you were at LumaForge over the last couple of years? I mean, I used it when I was working with Brad Olson on the Final Cut Pro documentary. We used it there. But that's been my experience so far of actually using it. So did you use it with LumaForge?
We used it all the time. As often as possible, we would do in-person review. But there were plenty of situations where I was supervising an edit, and somebody was leaving for the day if they were in office, or Sometimes I would just upload a link at the end of the day for
Sure.
review for somebody if we both had extremely busy schedules. But in addition, whenever I was working with remote editors, which were usually people that were just across town,
Sure.
if they needed certain B-roll assets, I would use Kino, search in Kino for those assets, transcode them to H.264 from RedRaw or from ProRes, so that it was small enough not to eat up our entire Frame.io account. And then
Sure,
we
exactly.
would, upload those assets. And then inside of the Final Cut workflow extension on their side, they were able to just download either proxy versions or the full resolution version that I had uploaded. And I don't know, do you guys know about the fact that you can drag, just like you can drag and drop parts of the structure in Final Cut Pro 10 to other applications, and it'll create an XML in the background. It does the same thing with Frame.io. So if you wanted to move over synchronized clips or multicam clips, you can drag those over. It'll create an XML, and then on the other side, someone can pull down the XML import, and it'll rebuild all of the metadata that had come with that file.
Yeah, that's cool.
So is that an app that's running in the background, or was it web-based with Frame.io? How is that working?
Well, it's one of the workflow extensions,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
10.4. So basically, it's a window that can live wherever in the screen. Usually, I size it to live kind of on the left column of my screen. I'll create like a little space, 3 or 4 inches wide on my screen. What is this left or is this left? And
that's your right.
That's your left. There you go. That's
on your screen. That's your left. Well, I'm sorry. I'm facing you at your left. For you, it's stage right.
Okay. So for you, this looks like left. Okay.
Yes.
They're doing mirrored image on my camera, so I couldn't tell.
Exactly.
Okay. So on this side, I'll have my Frame.io panel, and then I'll have these 2/3 right here will be the actual Final Cut, the rest of the interface. And so I'll drag things from here, or I'll link my timeline from here to, or I'll link the playhead here to the timeline here, so I can click on notes and they'll jump back and forth. Anyway, so we did all of that while working at LumaForge. And since onboarding at Frame.io, I've gotten to play with it in Premiere and in Resolve a little bit more. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but non-Final Cut related, they actually added the proxy workflow that's possible within Final Cut Pro 10. They've added that proxy functionality to Premiere within the last couple of weeks. So, still not as it's still in Premiere. It's not Final Cut, but Premiere now has at least that Frame.io functionality built into it now.
Well, that's pretty damn cool. One of the things that I wanted to say about Frame.io was I really appreciated them at NAB last year. In lieu of anything else that was very specifically Final Cut Pro, they had the booth that was the most concentrated Final Cut Pro content because, of course, Apple wasn't there. And LumaForge was not there on the, doing a session in the convention center. They did the Faster Together stage offsite. So Frame.io was the place for people to concentrate and come and talk about Final Cut Pro. And Michael Cioni was there all the time. You were there giving presentations all the time. So I thumbs up for that. Absolutely. I hope they do that again this year.
Very good feedback. I'll pass that along to the team.
I talked to Emery when I was there, and I told him, I said, this is really cool. You guys, first off, you have a good booth. It's right by Blackmagic's booth. And it's, it's a lot of Final Cut Pro stuff, the most concentrated we had available because there wasn't anything else there, right? I mean, it was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, good to know. I'll mention it to the team that you were really appreciative of that.
Absolutely. So the transition from LumaForge to Frame.io, I guess it's still in transition for you as far as your life and everything.
Well, yeah, in terms of figuring out day to day and getting into routine and that sort of thing. Yeah. to me, that's the little things like, when do I go to the gym? What
Right,
do I have for
sure.
breakfast today? That sort of
Sure.
a thing. Yeah, so that transition's still in process, and I'm still, one of the new guys who's, you know, pinging the team with lots of questions and
Okay.
trying to figure out how things work. Obviously the actual application itself, like the web applications and the native apps built into Final Cut and Premiere and Mac OS are all very easy to use, very intuitive. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that's very different than what I'm used. I'm used to SMB and NFS and those sorts of things, and now we're
Right,
talking
right,
about
exactly.
Swift and HTTP and transfer protocols for internet and that sort of a thing. And so it's a bit of a learning curve. But if I'm honest, when I started at LumaForge, I was similarly confused for the the first few months, and then
Sure.
uh, kind of got my feet underneath myself and was able to um, start actually making an impact at the company in major ways. But
Absolutely.
but it was interesting during my first week on the job. I've already created my very first video for the company
Oh,
while in the
sweet.
middle of orientation. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we have a video on the Sony FX9
Hmm.
on the Frame.io page. So
No, I did see that. I saw that when it first came out. Of course, I saw all the videos you do.
oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So currently in the process of figuring out, now that I'm back in LA, what it looks like to create video, because my kitchen's not exactly the best place for that. So
Oh, it's not.
not exactly.
So we just got a comment from Tangier Clark. Frame.io is amazing. We use it regularly as integral to our workflow with Final Cut Pro 10. I'll be writing an article for Frame.io soon. How about that?
Oh,
Well,
nice.
that's exciting. That's very
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah.
So are you going to be doing articles for, I'm sure you are eventually, for Frame.io as well, or is that all out? I know Isaac did one.
Yeah, I did a few.
Yeah.
A few. Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be doing some articles. There is actually already there's an entire content team at Frame.io.
Okay.
Ben Bailey just put out an article on Raw that that he had me help review, and included a couple of videos from my time at LumaForge.
Okay.
But yeah, Ben Bailey did that. He did an article on Aces. We just had an article on the Wu-Tang Clan, and I haven't checked the article, but I would guess that friend of Final Cut Josh Beal is included in that article.
Okay.
Here, let's find out. If we go to the Frame.io blog, I got Wu-Tang. Oh, is that a newsletter exclusive? That might be a newsletter exclusive.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think you might have to be signed up to our newsletter to get that article, but we do have an article about the new Wu-Tang Clan series.
Hey, shout out to Wu-Tang.
Shout out to Wu-Tang.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to Josh Beal for having edited that show.
Oh, absolutely, Josh.
Absolutely. I'm a member of your email list. I get emails from you guys all the time for memory and stuff.
No, I
Me
really
too.
do want to see that piece on Wu-Tang. That would be cool.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
I think that email came out just today, actually. Or at least it's on Twitter, I think.
Right. Right.
In any case, we're not
Nice.
here to talk about Wu-Tang Clan. We're here to talk about
Oh,
Final
yes, we are.
Yes. We talk whatever we want to. So let's talk about what happened this week. We brought Isaac on here. So the headline is Google took down Hollywood. So Isaac, you are the man to explain. I mean, basically, there were problems with Macs that booting up, it seemed to be in Hollywood more than other places. And
Right.
initially they said it was Avid Systems, but it wasn't just Avid Systems, was it?
Correct. Yeah. So just a little bit of backgrounder.
Okay.
I think we've talked about this on the show. A lot of Avid-based houses are using very specific versions of OS 10 or Mac OS, and a very specific version of Media Composer. And a lot of those are on really, really old versions by, a common users. Okay, so you're not even talking version 8. There's one show that was, the editor was recently interviewed, and they're still on, I think it's Media Composer 6. So this is a pretty common scenario to keep these old systems alive. And then if they decide, okay, well, we're going to move up to something beyond OS 10, 10.10, that's when Apple introduced system integrity protection. So in OS 10, 10.11 and beyond, that locks down the if you want to say like the core system internal, so that a piece of software or a kernel extension installation can't dramatically alter the environment. But for a long, long time, if you were working with these old systems and these old hardware peripherals, particularly the old hardware peripherals, you needed to disable system integrity protection for a moment in order to do the installation successfully.
Okay.
And of course, when you both can speak to this, post-production is just go, 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 go. So the episode has to be delivered, right now. So when IT comes in and they say, fix this, it doesn't work, and they do the installations, they probably disabled system integrity protection but didn't re-enable it.
Do you think they did that on purpose, though, in some of the systems? They left it off purposely. It seems like they did.
To be clear, you have to go through some pretty fiery hoops in order to disable system integrity protection. Yeah, you can't. So you'd have to. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So you have to really intend for that to happen.
Okay.
So software can't make that happen. And maybe someone will counterpoint me later on the social media, but only the user can go in and specifically say, no, system integrity protection is off right now. So with that, it's like, yeah, so now you can do anything you want, but that's the problem, is you can do anything you want.
Right.
And then you have what happened this week. So Google's underlying updating architecture, it's called Keystone.
Right.
And it sounds like somebody may have just fat-fingered in an update this folder. Now we come to the broken part of macOS. There's this underlying folder in many Unix-based operating systems called var, V-A-R.
Right.
And that's been that way for a long, long time. And in macOS, if you were to launch terminal window and look at it, it actually points to a different folder. And that's called a symbolic link, or symlink.
Okay.
Well, the Google updater broke that symlink, made var its own folder, and now what the real var is orphaned. And in the meantime, macOS says, I don't know what to do if I restart my computer.
Right.
And so all of that together, the system integrity protection disabled, the bad Google updater service or Google Keystone updater, and then somebody just restarts their computer, and boom, you have what happened this past week.
So I want to blame somebody. Do we blame Google or do we blame?
Oh my goodness! Richard, you're pointing to one of the major reasons why Avid is quote king in Hollywood is because of the one throat to choke rule, right? Everyone wants one throat to choke when it comes to tight deadlines, and so if you've got Avid who runs your software and your hardware and all that other stuff,
they're years behind, typically.
Sure, they're years behind, but they have their own, the Nexus now hardware and the software. So because they've got both of those things and everything is, works together. I mean, it's kind of the same reason why a lot of people end up in the Apple ecosystem, right? They want one company to talk to about their problems.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
One person to blame too. One company to blame.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've gotten a runaround before. Go ahead.
It's true about, I've heard that expression, probably in the last year, probably more so than ever. But I don't know. It's a peculiar. Let me say this. So Avid was in front of it, yes, and I was in that Mac admin Slack channel when all of this was unfolding, and I'm trying to mostly listen, and then kind of look for my own way, and then present the findings. So I'm being additive and not just adding to the echo chamber. And Avid came in. You had people from some very interesting companies in this same Slack channel, and that was formed in a matter of hours. And it was beautiful to see everybody kind of come together and go, we got to fix this right now. But unfortunately, because of this culture of how Avid has hermetically sealed their user base into these very, very specific systems.
Right.
That was the easy person or entity to point to. So
initially,
you had to have this,
yeah.
So you had to have this like very, very specific set of circumstances, and it's not just somebody who's an Avid user. It's just might be somebody again who is working, has a user base under tight deadlines.
Sure.
They needed to install something, whatever that was, and it required system integrity protection to be disabled. I mean, there's a lot of, if you look up, disabling SIP on a Mac, you're going to see a lot of references to antivirus software.
Right.
So,
I've seen that.
Yeah. So if somebody's rolling that out, it's like, well, okay. And then if IT goes, oh yeah, we should have, oh yeah, you're good. And then they run away and they, if it's kind of a put out the next fire culture there, that contributes to this whole leaving stuff behind.
So it seems like Google did something, and the admins of those Avid machines also contributed by disabling the protection.
System integrity protection.
Okay.
Right.
So if both of those things had to happen in order for things to shut down. And the reason it got so much attention, look, if it happened to my machine out here in Maryland and Patrick's out there in LA, nobody would care. But it shut down Hollywood. It shut down Hollywood. Google shut down Hollywood. So that's where the attention came in, all the attention.
Yeah, and I think since you mentioned that, I think that's worth noting. I know that Avid is positioning themselves as for the makers, and
yes.
They want to expand that user base, and that's great. But I think that an incident like this punctuates the fact that you are not their client. Their client is ABC Studios or NBC Universal, and I'm not trying to wreck on them. I mean,
sure. No, that's true. Right.
But like you said, if that happened to you, you might be able to reach out in the community. You might be able to get Mariana Montague's ear, probably. Right. But would it have gone as deep as this? I don't know. I'm doubtful beyond some user contributions.
They have a big bullhorn, a big one, right, built in.
Yeah. This entire thing reminds me. You guys remember? Was it? I think it was around 2004, 2005. There was the entire northeast, the entire northeast portion of America lost electricity for what was it, like a day and a half?
Oh yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah. So, my family and I were in Ohio at the time, and I was listening to my portable Sony Discman CD player, and the electricity went off in the house that we were staying in, and my mom turned to me and said, "Patrick, what did you do?"
There you go.
And I feel like Avid is the Patrick in that situation, right? Where they just happen to be in the room,
right,
and get the blame for something they had nothing to do with.
Well, also they were the money makers that were being affected. I mean, they were shutting down productions, Hollywood productions. That's, not they. I mean, the Google problem and the IT people who disabled system SIP. Is that what it is? Isaac?
Yeah, SIP, system integration protection. Yeah. And I just want to be clear too about, it's like, again, I'm not. They were not the throat to choke. Is Avid proper? It's just difficult as.
No, I understand. Sure.
Yeah. It's just difficult as a system administrator, at least in certain versions. And again, that might be true of, like, say, this version of Media Composer on with this hardware on. But then if you bring in if you're still trying to hang on to like that Matrox MX02 Mini or a Motu Bob or something like that.
Right.
And all of that at the time required you to disable that, that's the, I guess, the problem, I guess. I guess,
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I can point to the Patrick, but it's
You are pointing to Patrick. Just start now. You just did.
But did Patrick have a reputation for shutting off the lights too? So
You're right. So we just got a text from Ben Housall.
Hello, Ben.
There's a page on OSX Daily to how to check if System Integrity Protection (SIP) is enabled on Mac.
Yes, in fact, Ben and anyone else who might be listening, and maybe I'll DM you this. Oh my goodness, Richard! Afterwards, the page is he calls himself Mr. Macintosh, so mrmacintosh.com, and he was one of these Mac admins that was in the Slack channel. He has the definitive page for it, checking, and then any remedial steps that need to be taken. But warning, it's a lot of it's a lot of terminal work. So for that, I say call a trusted expert,
and don't make a mistake in terminal. Don't make a mistake in terminal.
Don't make a mistake in terminal, or call someone that if you want another throat to choke, you can offer that to someone like myself for my team. So
there you go. All right, it's enough of that nonsense. I just wanted somebody to blame. So Google and IT admins, that's all. I don't think it affected too many Final Cut Pro systems because probably they didn't turn off SIP, I would imagine, right?
More than likely.
So who's getting an iPhone Pro? I'm getting one. I wasn't getting one, and then I figured out a way to finance it. So once I figured out a way to finance it. So then I said, okay, I'm getting one because I haven't.
3 months ago, I bought a 10R, and then I read something just yesterday that says there are strong indicators that Apple is going to revive the old iPhone 4/5/SE build. And I go, because I have this iPro lens kit, which was super awesome, and I have I have the whole barrel stocked. So I would love to go back to that myself for the whole noisy cricket, phone. It was an awesome, just a little tiny phone, but a lot of action. But I got a 10R.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get one, but I have the iPhone 6S Plus, which is, I got it. That's the first one that shot 4K, so that's why I bought it. But like once, I have my Mac Pro funded. Okay, I got $8,000 set aside for my Mac Pro. That's $6,000 plus another couple thousand for a couple of whatever upgrades I want to do. I didn't want to raid that for my iPhone, so I refused to get it initially. But then I said, I know a way I can get that iPhone, and I figured out another way. So I got the iPhone 5 12 gigabyte Pro Max, the top one, smoke, whatever the gray is. It should be here in a week or so. I'll have it for the summit for sure. But it's interesting, all the improvements that they've done for video, because that's the only reason I would upgrade. I don't need a better phone per se. I'll get one, that's fine. But it's mostly for video. They have the 3 lenses now, the ultra wide, the regular, and then the digital zoom. And they have the front-facing camera. Now, here's the interesting thing I found out. All 4 of those have separate cameras. All 4 of those cameras are 4K, right? Did you see the demo with Filmic Pro when they had all 4 of those on screen?
Yes.
At the recent iPhone event? Mm-hmm. It says you can record 2 screens at once. You can only record 1080p.
Oh.
It only does 1080p. I'm saying only, but I'm saying you got 4 4K cameras. And I was on a chat recently. We had a chat on a Saturday. And I say, do you mean to tell me it can do 2 4Ks recordings at the same time? And everybody thought it could, but apparently it can't. 2 1080p's is what it records, not 2 4Ks. You can see all 4 of the screens up. Yeah, all the cameras up, but.
My guess would be that it has to do with internal recording speeds, right? Like the data rate of multi-stream is very different than single stream.
Absolutely.
So that, 2 streams of 1080 off of a single device.
Pretty cool.
Let's just be honest. Like, how many cameras do you know that can shoot and record multiple streams of 4K internal to the same camera? I know a grand total of 0 cameras that do that. Like, I know cameras that can shoot 1 stream of 8K, but 2 streams of 4K I've, simultaneously. It's a very different thing.
No, I agree with you, Patrick, 100%. It's just that it seemed like at the presentation, they didn't make the distinction that we have all 4 screens up, and they just said you can record 2 at once. They didn't make the distinction you only record in 1080p. I'm saying only, like you said, it's difficult. 2 separate, recording simultaneously on a phone.
Yeah, it's pretty. To me, that's pretty impressive at the moment. I'm sure that here in a couple of years we'll be like, psh, old news.
Exactly. Listen, we're not going to get 8K on a phone. It's impossible. It's impossible. I don't care. 10 years from now.
I don't know, Richard.
I know. That's.
Look, here's the thing. Anything that we've ever said it's impossible will never get that spec. That spec ends up happening.
That's exactly right. So you guys getting?
Go ahead, Richard.
Neither one of you getting one?
Not now.
Okay.
I mean, my wife and I have this tendency to wait until a thing is broken before we replace it.
Okay.
So, like, I still, as much as I love HDR and as much as I love 4K, we still have a 1080 SDR television, and I'm still on the iPhone 8 from, I think we got it in 2017.
Okay.
Accidentally rose gold because my previous iPhone broke. And when I
love
say
that.
broke,
Accidentally rose gold. I hope you make that the title of this podcast.
There you go.
Well, I mean, the T-Mobile store told me it was gold, and then they brought it out I had already sold it to me, unpackaged it, and it was rose gold.
What a story, though.
Isaac, you're not being very nice.
Buy your iOS devices directly from the Apple Store.
Absolutely.
Just put like an independent sticker on it, or like Thrasher or something,
Yeah. So Gert mentions, I had a list. I said, did we forget anything? And Gert said, Mac OS X update 10.15 beta now works fine with Final Cut Pro. So that was another thing. They had a beta that was crashing Final Cut Pro. Now, the people that are using the beta, don't blame Apple or Final Cut Pro. That's a beta piece of software. You can expect that.
Right. Well, and in that piece of software, it's my understanding that they accidentally messed up the var folder.
Yeah, you're kidding me.
So now it's
you're just teasing, right?
It's like a Christopher Nolan film. You know what's funny though, Richard? Is
I'm kidding.
There's this thread that documented the people who said yes, Catalina Beta 8. Final Cut Pro 10, it's crashing, and there are some who don't understand that beta means beta. So, and they're using it in production. It's not, oh nuts, my test machine broke. It's like, oh no, my everyday machine broke, and you're going,
right, exactly.
It's beta.
Listen, Isaac. That, and when people say Final Cut Pro crashed and took all their media library, and I always say, use your backup. Oh, I didn't have a backup. I said, before you even start a project, back up all your media on a separate drive. Where's that one? It drives me crazy they don't do that.
Yeah. And, I love the enthusiasm for, new tech, but in post-production, and it must be, again, my background with working in Avid environments, but to be more conservative than not, then you can,
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, attack the bleeding edge as long as you also have everything backed up somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got another comment. We've had a bunch of comments. So Tangier Clark says, even the gold master of Mac OS 10.15, don't rush to update. Don't forget the legacy media you will need to deal with first, or convert it if you want. So I am going to, on my iMac and my MacBook Pro, and when I get a Mac Pro, I'm going to have a dual boot system for a while. I'm going to have Mojave and Catalina, just native, so I can switch back and forth. So I can still do legacy media. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, and there's just so many things that would affect your day-to-day if you don't plan it out, if you're in a production environment and not necessarily a soloist. So, just name a few. No more 32-bit apps, Metal over OpenGL, there's a number 3 that I always mention and now always
Can't
forget.
remember.
But those two are huge. So yeah, don't rush into it if you know that you would need that computer hitting the ground running from day one. Always wait till at least .1, if not .2.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ben Household says again, don't rush. I wish I still had a machine that would run DVD Studio Pro.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I need that in iWeb every day.
Yeah. I liked iWeb back in the day. I started web design
Ben,
on
Ben,
page.
I'm with you. DVD Studio Pro, man.
Yeah.
Every so often.
Yeah. I haven't done DVD for a long time.
Me neither. I mean, my dad will reach out to me and he's say, "Can you send that to me on a CD or a DVD? Can you send me those photos on a CD?"
I'm serious,
Dad.
man. I'm with you. No snark.
DVD Studio Pro has its place, I guess, if you're working with. I don't know who do you work with, Isaac? That you need.
Federal
You
government
just-
for me when I worked at the National Archives all the time. DVDs.
It's just for me it's just that every so often, and when that every so often comes, I go, I am using another app core, but we can't talk about that, I guess.
No,
But-
you can.
But if I could, I'd feel the same. I feel the same as Ben. But I'm not crying about it.
Right. Well, I have one of those really tiny USB 3 Blu-ray DVD burner players, the real thin ones, So I have one of those, and I haven't burned anything on it for a long time, but sometimes I rip things from it if I want to pull a file. So that's what I use it for, Blu-rays and stuff.
Yeah, I use that to build my Plex library whenever Netflix takes down my favorite show, but I've already got it on DVD.
Sure.
There you
I'll
go.
just rip it to Plex so that I can. Actually, Plex is one of my favorite things, and I kind of always wanted to have a Plex server at home, but for whatever reason, I couldn't convince anyone at LumaForge that I needed a Jellyfish dedicated just to being my own Plex server. I don't know.
Oh,
And
that's
Patrick has a 48 terabyte Jellyfish.
Exactly.
Just for
to
Doctor
play
Who.
back. Well, for me, it would be King of the Hill and The Office would be because I'm from Middle America and
Sure. I just started
Office is
watching.
universal.
I just started watching the original Office. Ricky Gervais.
Oh, sure.
I have a hard time watching Ricky Gervais. But anyway,
You should. Yeah, he has a couple of things on Netflix.
Shout out to Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, I liked his After Death. What was it called? After Death, or the last one? It was really, really good. Really good. But anyway, so the iPhone Pro we talked about. Let's talk about the Mac Pro being built in Austin, Texas. Apple had a
Yes.
press release about that. Not just a casual announcement. Tim Cook had things to say. So they got some tax, I don't know if they're tax incentives. They got some kind of a reprieve from some of the tariffs from China and stuff, and they got enough that they are going to build it in the same factory that they built the trash can.
wow.
Right?
I think that this is really great news, not only for professional video editors, but for anyone who has any sort of a HomePod, because that means now our HomePods are going to be cheese grater shaped. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes. Yes.
Everything's going to be
Awesome.
cheese grater, mini cheese grater. The minis are going to be cheese grater shaped. So
I'm just kidding, because I think they build the HomePods in the same factory as they did the original trash can as well.
that makes
and
sense. Same
There
shape.
is that canny resemblance between the 2013 Mac Pro and the HomePod.
Very good point, Patrick. I didn't catch that until just now when you mentioned. I said, of course, that makes complete sense.
Sorry, very, very poor taste of joke, but anyway.
So here's the interesting thing. In that press release, they mentioned they're going to start productions of the Mac Pro. They specifically say we're going to start production of the Mac Pros in Austin, Texas. So if they just started the production, we might not see them till December.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
But I think we're going to see them at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. I think they will have a few assembled at that
that'd
point.
Be awesome.
Yes, that will be. That's what I'm counting on. With whatever update they're going to give us for Final Cut Pro at that point. I mean, obviously they're going to give us something this fall, quote unquote fall. As soon as fall hit, everybody said, where's our updates? Where's the Mac Pro? I said, fall just started. It just started. You got 3 more months. Come on. Give them a little bit of a break.
But we want it now. Now is when we want it.
Of course.
Now?
Are we ever satisfied as editors and pundits on the online? No, nobody's satisfied.
Look, I want my Mac Pro now. Hopefully, they'll have a few at the Creative Summit that we can just take home with us.
Well, put them under the seat the way Oprah does with things, right?
That's a sweet
even if they don't
bag.
put them under the seat, I'd be happy to pay them all the money. I'd be happy to pay them all the money. I just want to take the Mac Pro back with me to Los Angeles.
How strong do those paper-based ropes on those Apple bags from the store have to be for you to carry home?
That's a good point, Isaac. That's a good point.
Pro.
I don't think they're going to fit in the paper bags. Something tells me.
Well, when I worked at the Apple store, anytime we did a Mac, we got that large cart, and we'd say, hey, we'll meet you over by this XYZ location by the dumpster in the alleyway.
Oh yeah, the Texer guys in New York City taught us to take. Maybe did you do this at the Apple store? Like, if you didn't do the cart, take packing tape and fashion a handle out of that, and attach it to the box, and then off you go.
Oh, you know what? I don't know that we did that, but that's really smart.
Well, the mall, and you got the cart, or the retail space, and you got the cart. So there you go.
Yeah, right. we had the cart, so we didn't have to do the packing.
You mean by Wetzel's Pretzels? I have your iMac.
you guys did buy Wetzel's Pretzels?
No. No, but that would be awesome. Meet me at Orange Julius, and I'll have your Mac Pro, your 2019 cheese grater Mac Pro.
It was always hard for us to describe where the docking bay was that the customers needed to meet us at. Yes,
that totally makes sense. Yeah.
This docking bay. Anyway, that was 10 years ago.
So the other big news that came out, well, it didn't really come out yesterday. My friend Barbara from the UK tweeted me a link, and the Super Meet is coming back. The Super Meet is coming back. Yes, it is. Patrick. Dan Berube and Future Media Concepts is bringing back. Now, they're starting with the Boston Super Meet, which is what I thought the original tweet was about. But then they go on to say, let me see where it says. They're going to do the big news. The Las Vegas Super Meet, also known as Super Meet 2020, will be back with a strong presence at the NAB Show 2020 in Las Vegas on Tuesday, April the 21st, 2020. I was really, really surprised about that announcement. I don't know why, but it's since they didn't have one last year, and LumaForge stepped up and did their Faster Together stage on the Tuesday night, I was kind of surprised. What do you guys think about it?
I think I will
Patrick
probably.
take this. He has the history with it, so
I do have some history with it, I suppose, with the Faster Together stage and whatnot. I think that it's good that we have the Super Meet coming back, and that the community will have a centralized place to go. The Faster Together stage stepped in the gap last year, but ultimately the thing that is most important, I think, is that we have a place where everyone can get together and celebrate post-production as a community. So whoever ends up doing it, it's exciting and it's important. So very, very excited that we have the Super Meet coming back.
I think so. I mean, I'm glad for NAB that they have something to fill that Tuesday night, fill that Tuesday night slot in. The Super Meet was different, obviously, than Faster Together. Faster Together was, I think, a bit more sophisticated, personally, I think. I mean, you guys had a great Just the lobby area was fantastic. You had a very nice setup. You had great food. You had the stage production was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. It really was.
Yeah.
So
Krista did an amazing job organizing. She and Jeff Worthwine just deserve all the props in the world for having put on such an amazing event.
Absolutely. Awesome. So we'll go back to, I've been to 2 super meets and then the Fast Together last year, the stage. That's on the, I guess they're doing maybe in the same hotel. Who knows? They haven't announced the location. They just announced that there's going to be one. Mm-hmm. And speaking of NAB, it's going to start on Sunday this year. They start at 10 o'clock Sunday morning or 12 Sunday morning, something like that. It's Sunday to Wednesday this year rather than Monday to Thursday. So I'm not going to worry about Sunday too much. I'm going to still get in here Sunday morning, whatever. Sunday mid-afternoon.
So are either of you going to NAB New York?
I'm not, no.
Should I?
I don't know.
I mean, I could. It's on the East Coast. I mean, it's not nearly as big as, I don't think, as the NAB Las Vegas. NAB Las Vegas seems to be the biggest.
Yeah, that's what I traditionally heard.
Yeah, but NAB New York, I think, is this week, isn't it?
See,
this coming week.
These people don't even.
sorry, NAB New York.
Unless you're in New York, people don't even really pay that much attention back to it. I mean, I could go up there and spend one night and then come back. It's easy. It's like a 2 or 3 hour train ride. So, but there's no incentive. I mean, I come to NAB for Final Cut Pro. That's what I come there for. There you go. October
16th through the 17th.
Yeah,
okay, so
next
it's
week.
not quite yet.
Not
you got
quite.
a few days, New Yorkers.
Yeah. I mean, Frame.io will have a presence there. So if you wanted to go hang out and say hi.
Yeah, is Frame.io?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
They're based out of New York, right? That's their base?
Yeah, that's right. The office is over in the financial district over by the Freedom Tower.
Okay, very good. Well, I'll have to get up there sometime. I've always liked New York. I'm kind of a New York kind of a person. I just like it. I like cities. Yeah. I like cities.
I'd never been until I started working for Frame.io.
That's a beautiful spot in the city too, where they have their offices.
It is.
Yeah.
Very, very fortunate to start off my New York experience that way.
Absolutely.
Oh,
so you're not going to move back to the East Coast, are you, Patrick?
No. I'm LA based.
Good. I mean, not good because I don't want you on the East Coast, but just don't.
I see how it is, Richard.
Don't uproot yourself.
Good.
We like native East Coasters here. We don't want transplants, okay?
Look, man, I'm a transplant from Oklahoma no matter where I am.
There you go.
It doesn't really matter.
There you go.
There you go.
So let's talk about the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, FCPX Creative Summit.
Yeah, which is happening on the West Coast.
Of course. This is. I do 2 trips. I do 2 trips to the West Coast a year, one for NAB and one for the Creative Summit. So this one's coming up. It's only 40 days away. 1 month, 10 days. Yes.
Yeah.
Patrick, you better get your presentation ready. Do you even know the subject matter yet?
He's presenting.
Yeah, I've got 2. Presenting from my kitchen, we're doing 2. I'm doing 2 presentations. I need to come up with the official titles.
Sure.
But basically, I'll be doing one kind of on audio workflow, using some of the tricks that I've learned over time using audio roles and talking about compression and EQ, and I'll give some tips on how to go from a stereo mix to a surround mix in 5 minutes. And
sweet.
Excellent.
And then we'll also be doing a presentation. I'm not sure if it'll be just me or if it'll be me and the director of the film, but I'm currently talking with the director about doing a presentation on the movie Faith Based. So we'll be talking about editing a comedy feature film inside of Final Cut Pro 10.
Excellent.
Congrats, man.
You have some tips for us, I hope.
Some chips?
Tips.
Oh, tips.
I like chips.
Now,
I like chips too.
Patrick, are you going to be using the new version Final Cut Pro 10.5 for that demonstration, or are you going to be using the old version 10.46?
It's a chat.
I don't know what you're talking about, Richard.
I've been saying. Go ahead.
Admiral Akbar.
At whatever version of Final Cut happens to be Gold Master at that point in time, whether it's 10.6 or not 10.6, 10.4.6 or Final Cut 11. Whatever the Gold Master is that week, I will download it immediately to my laptop, and I will throw caution to the wind, and we'll see all the update errors if they exist. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the problem is for you presenters is if they do update right at the Creative Summit, you have to update all your slides and stuff if the interface has changed. That's one of the problems.
Do you end up updating it, Patrick?
I have in the past.
Puts more stress on you.
I mean, I did in the past because when 10.3 came out, Sam and I were presenting that week, and because 10.3 came out the week of the Creative Summit, we immediately threw together a presentation on audio rolls, and so we had to update the computers. Would I actually do that this time? Probably not. Just because the subject matter that I'm talking about I'm not talking about a new feature. I'm talking about how do I use the features that I've used for forever and a day, right?
Sure.
Right.
And I'm unwilling, if God forbid something like that were to happen, I would be unwilling to learn any new features and teach them the same day again, because that's just,
it's too much.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is.
It's brutal. I'll leave that to Steve Martin and Mark Spencer.
Steve and Mark.
Well, listen, I'm sure they're working on the tutorials for it. Them getting them ready for that day one launch the way they always have. So,
yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, as far as anyone knows, we're still going to be 10.4.6 for who knows how long.
No official announcement other than Apple said there will be an update this fall.
Oh, did they?
To Final Cut, yeah. They did at WWDC. They said an update. Well, they didn't say what it was going to be, but listen, it doesn't make any sense to go to 10.4.7 because it's been 2 years. The summit will be 2 years since 10.4. That's a long cycle because, let me tell you, the cycles have been 14 months, 16 months, and 18 months from 10.2 to 3 and then 3 to 4. 14 months, 16 months, 18 months. So 2 years is a long time for current things. I mean, obviously 10.0 was a long time too, to 10.1, but that was different.
Well, if anybody from Pro Apps is watching or listening, I favor stability and performance.
Of course.
And you can let that stuff cook in the crock pot as long as it needs to.
But they've had 2 years.
As long as it needs to.
2 years. They've had 2 years. They probably started on it 3 years ago, whatever the big update is.
Richard really likes his marketing numbering system.
Well, I do. Whatever happens, there's going to be an update, and it's not. I can't imagine just a little bug fix update. They already had a couple of those.
Richard, what I want to know from you is, will you be doing a presentation at the Creative Summit on the new scrolling timeline?
I think it's going to be just if you buy a Mac Pro. If you buy Mac Pro, there's going to be a button for a scrolling timeline. Listen, I've talked about this multiple times.
That's not what I asked, Richard. I asked, are you giving a presentation at the Creative Summit on version 10.7?
Listen. First off,
and the scrolling timeline.
If I have to do
an evening, like a christening thing, like after we've all eaten and seen the demos, and you visit your stupid raisins and your awesome FCP10s. That's how you kick off the evening.
If I have to do a presentation, I can't relax. I have to work for weeks in advance. So I don't want to do that.
I feel, man.
I know. I know exactly how you feel. Listen, when I teach at Future Media Concepts, those 2 and 3 day classes, teaching a session for an hour and a half or 2 hours, I got to stand in front of a class for 8 hours a day for 2 and 3 days at a time. So that's a lot of preparation. That's why I don't like doing it.
It is a lot of preparation.
So I don't like it. I'll do it if I have enough advance notice, but I'm coming to the summit. I'm not coming. No presentations. Thank you.
Just chits and 10.6.
Thankfully, this year, my presentations aren't stuff that I've been doing a lot of.
That makes it great.
Get asked to do something a little more difficult. So talking about how I use audio will be super easy. Maybe I'll throw in some isotope tips. I don't know.
I like it.
Well, do you like that? I'm asking for feedback here. Is that something interesting?
Here's something that won't go into depth here, but there's a product out there called, on Twitter he calls himself Vordio, Vordio, and he has this the visual conforming app going out of Final Cut Reaper to Reaper and then back in. That looks amazing.
I've seen that.
It looks super cool. But I'm not a Reaper user, is the only thing.
I'm not either.
Right.
I'm not either.
Not many people are. That's the problem.
At this stage of my life, I don't want to learn any more software. Okay, I got Logic and I got Final Cut Pro as my main pieces of software.
Oh, Richard, oh no.
I mean, for NLE,
he made something for Audition. That's right. He made something for Adobe Audition too. But it'd be great if he made the Logic. That would be awesome.
I'm just saying, Richard, that's the attitude that got everyone stuck with Avid and Premiere whenever Final Cut Pro 10 came out, was that I'm not going to learn any new software.
No, but I already learned the newest software. I already knew Final Cut Pro and I know Logic.
Yeah, but there's going to be another newest software at some point, Richard.
Well, I don't want to. Do I want to be a person who knows a little bit of all the NLEs and all the DAWs? Or do I want to be specific for Final Cut Pro and Logic? That's what I want to do. I don't even do motion. I mean, like I always say, I'll pay Mark Spencer $25, $30 to do a plugin for me rather than spend hours and hours and hours and hours trying to develop one myself. I mean, it's not, I'm going to learn the new version of Final Cut. I'm going to learn the new version of Logic. Now, if something comes along that's phenomenal, I'll spend time. I'm learning new web design software because I'm redoing my websites, for example. I switched that. But let me tell you something. If I had to switch NLEs right now, if Final Cut Pro didn't exist, I would probably go with LumaFusion, to be honest with you. I'd go switch to the iPad. Oh. Their app is fantastic. I absolutely love their interface design, what they're doing with it. It's just, I'm not that big a fan of editing on the iPad, but I'm really, really like what they're doing with the NLE. Now, they're supposed to be bringing a Mac version over. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. We'll see. But
you know what my favorite thing about LumaFusion is?
What?
The Frame.io integration.
Now how does that work with? So it's not an extension, is it?
Basically, Frame.io becomes a source within LumaFusion.
Okay.
So
okay.
You can grab footage from Frame.io and edit it straight into your timeline.
Okay.
Nice.
That's very cool.
One of my favorite ideas is, you shoot all the stuff on your GH4, you upload it to Frame.io, and then someone else remotely opens LumaFusion, what I was really hoping we'd be able to pull off while I was at LumaForge was the idea of uploading straight from a Jellyfish to Frame.io or straight from a Jellyfish to LumaFusion. You can use watch folders actually, so you could do that with a.
Okay.
You could do that with.
I'm looking this up. This is interesting.
Yeah.
So you could set up a watch folder in Frame.io that would automatically take any of your footage that you dump into the watch folder, put it in Frame.io, and then wherever you are with your iPad, you could edit. So if you were on the train, you could be, pulling down clips from Frame.io and editing the footage that was on your server or on your external hard drive at home. So there are a number of things you can do.
One of the things that I didn't really realize about the people always talking about Avid, controlling Hollywood and Final Cut Pro is not optimal for Hollywood. I talked to Mike Yanovich, who did the article, after 25 years of editing on an Avid, I switched to Final Cut Pro 10. One of the points he made, which is absolutely true, it's not about collaboration with one or two editors. It's collaboration with 10 to 20 people working on the same project at the same time. That's where Avid gets their strength, and that's something that Final Cut Pro absolutely cannot do at this point. One or two editors, absolutely, they can do the workarounds. 10, he said sometimes there's 5 editors and 5 assistant editors and there's graphics people, and they're all working on the same project at the same time. He said up to 20 people work on the same project. It'd be a nightmare with Final Cut Pro at this point to do something like that.
It would be. I mean, admittedly, it would be. We were able on Faith-Based. We were able to do 3 people fairly easily because we broke the movie into multiple reels, and so one person could have any one of those 5 reels open at any one point in time and be doing tasks inside of it. But when you're on an episodic and you've got, I know of an episodic that had 7 editors and 7 assists, so they were at 14, and they all need to be able to access the same stuff because, especially now, we went away from doing serialized production to, you do something like House of Cards or basically anything for one of these OTT services. They want you to, put the entire season out all at once, which means that you shoot out an entire location for the entire season and then move to the next location. And so you're getting clips from multiple different episodes. And because you've got clips from multiple different episodes within a single set of dailies, then everybody needs access to all the footage at all the times so that they can edit footage into their proper episodes. Let's forget about flashbacks or last time ons or, next time ons or what. I don't remember what they call those technically, but those sorts of things. Yeah, absolutely. You do need that massive amount of collaboration within the same project, which, I mean, Final Cut doesn't do. Actually, Premiere, I don't think, does super well right now. They can work with, I know Deadpool worked with Premiere. I think that,
no.
Right.
Avid is the king in that regard. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But I keep saying this. It has a lot to do with hardware, not just the NLE. I always compare the Avid NLE versus the Final Cut Pro NLE, not the hardware it's connected to. But Avid is so integrated with the hardware, it's hard to do that. But Avid is absolutely the king. If you have 10, 20 people work, that would be just, wouldn't sleep at night if I had to do that in Final Cut Pro 10.
Well, I have to break off, but this like triggered a whole like series of thoughts that I wanted to, but I can't right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's something, and I know nothing, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that when Richard, you talk about the thing that's going to be in that next dot whatever, if it's not this dot whatever, it's going to be the next dot whatever. And until then, you do have PostLab. PostLab was acquired by Hedge Software. I mean, that's a pretty heavy hitting team. And then, I've worked in teams where it hasn't been up to, not like Patrick, like 7 and 7, editors and assists, but nevertheless, you could still do it, just not in that there's a project and then bin locking and sequences and things like that.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway,
The other thing I was taught, because I interviewed Michael's wife on Final Cut Pro Radio a couple years ago, and I had her on. She only knows Avid. She doesn't know anything about Final Cut, but I was curious, and I wanted to find out. And in the same thing when I interviewed Michael, now he's an Avid guy. He's been doing it for 27 years. It still seems to me that it's clunky that you have to either go to the person's edit suite and say, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, can you unlock that bin? Or text them or call them or whatever. And you can't just do it in the interface of Avid. You can't have a little message system.
You can't request access
to that bin.
And that's improved, but that's basically, that is still like that core mechanism. And if you talk to, again, those who are closest to it, bin locking was never meant to be the be all end all. It was just a workaround that took off, and then everyone said, hey, and again, that culture of we're not gonna pull the string on the thread that will, on the sweater that's gonna bring this whole thing down. We're just gonna leave it. So but it has worked, and it has served that user base for years. But some people selectively forget that it's like this isn't quite as like 100% seamless for multi-user work as everyone makes it out to be.
Well, it seems like SneakerNet. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It's sneaker. It is sneaker. It can be SneakerNet-ish depending on the configuration. But hey, guys, I got to break off. I really appreciate you having me on again,
Sure
Richard.
Thing.
Congratulations, Patrick, on your Frame.io gig and on the upcoming film. That's pretty awesome, man. So
Absolutely
Thanks
is.
yeah. Thank you once again, Richard. Thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you.
Yep. I got to head off as well, guys.
All right.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later.
You bet.
Sounds
Have a
good.
good weekend.
Talk
See
to you
ya.
guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All righty. So we have just, I'll stay on just for a minute. So we discussed multiple things today. We talked about, first off, I still think there's going to be, we know there's going to be an update to Final Cut Pro. That's absolute. Apple has already announced that. And I was completely surprised that the SuperMe came back. If you are going to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, use the code FCPX Summit, FCPX Radio 19. That will be the discount code for the FCPX Creative Summit. And of course, you can go to the Creative Summit, FCPXCreativeSummit.com. I, of course, will be there as I have been for the last 3 years. And I will provide a virtual live window into the summit as much as possible. Obviously not I won't be doing that at the Apple campus. We're going to see the Spaceship campus this year. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to see in there. Just maybe go to the cafeteria. I like to stop in Tim Cook's office myself. That would be very cool, but I don't think that's going to happen. So let me pull this up. This is Final Cut Pro Radio TV live, bringing you the latest news. I think we've covered everything for today. We've solved all the problems in the Final Cut Pro world. So until the next time we go live, go to FinalCutProRadio.com for the latest Final Cut Pro. There it is. The latest Final Cut Pro Radio podcast. That's the audio version. And I'll be passing 1.1 million podcast downloads this month in October. In October. I'll be headed towards 1.2 million at that point, which is a lot of downloads, a lot of work. I've been doing it for a long time. So anyway, everybody, go to FCPRadio.com. Let me just pull that up there real quick. And let me just pull this up so you guys can see what's going on here. There's FinalCutProRadio.com. We have a Final Cut Pro FCPX Creative Summit page. We have the Summit Countdown. Let's see what the latest countdown is. 41 days, 3 hours, whatever minutes. And we also have a dedicated FCPX Creative Summit page just doing highlights. There's a highlights video there. There's the basic sessions real quick. And I'll have more information up, FCPRadio.com. That's where you find all that stuff. So until the next time, everybody, I want to thank Patrick. I want to thank Isaac for stopping in today. We'll be doing these on a fairly regular basis, sometimes 2 a week, sometimes 3 a week. And I'll see you on the next one. Talk to you later.